Welcome back, everybody, to another fantastic episode of the Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast. Man, it feels nice to say that again. I am one of your hosts this week, Wrestling Chris G, and on the other line with me is my pink brother. It's good old Dougie Fresh. Dougie, my man, how you doing?
I'm doing well, and I'd like to think I look good in pink, so I appreciate the shout out.
I was gonna make a Machine Gun Kelly reference to the pink thing, but I was like, nah, you don't listen to Machine Gun. But I did recently go to his concert 4 days ago, actually, which was
Oh, nice.
awesome.
How was that? Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. He was wasted during his concert, like completely like wasted. He puked
Oh,
after one of his songs. Well, not well, he did on stage, but it was like off stage. He like ran over to like a bucket, chucked, and then came back and finished all the rest of his music. And he got fined because he kept going over to his band and had them play songs that were outside of the original set that they had made. So,
yeah, oh,
yeah.
I didn't know they had to stick to that so strictly.
Well, at the building we went. So we went up to Wisconsin. At the I think it's called the Family Insurance Amphitheater,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah. So we went there to go watch it, and I guess he only rented the building out to a specific time, and then after that specific time, which I think he rented it until like 10:30 because I think it was around 10:45. He said we're getting fined, but we've been getting fined at every single building that we've gone to so far on this tour. So fuck it. We'll pay the damn fine, but we're finishing our set, is what he said.
So,
So
what time did y'all get out? Well, okay, first of all, what time did it start?
um doors opened at 6, and then so it was well, it was this guy named Ian Dion. I think that's how you pronounce that guy's name. And then second was Avril Lavigne. And then it was
Oh, no
Machine Gun.
shit.
Yeah, and then it was Machine Gun Kelly as the main event. So the concert went from 6:30. I'm guessing because they had like a pre-show that Ian do. They went from 6:30 all the way until about 11:30, and we were about an extra hour getting out of the parking lot, and I got yelled at by my wife because of that. Because after he was done with his last song, I wanted to see him like say goodbye to the audience, and my wife was like, "Let's just go. I want to beat this traffic." And by the time we got over to the car, we were stuck in the parking lot for an extra hour and didn't make it home until 3:30 in the
Holy
that
mother.
Yeah, that was fun.
Holy.
But do blame it on the I have the worst Taco Bell luck, everyone. Like anytime I want Taco Bell, it's always closed. Don't ask why. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that share the same sympathy as I do. But we were gonna get Taco Bell after the concert, and the one we stopped at a gas station. There was an open Taco Bell, and I was like, "Nah, I don't want Taco Bell." So we got back on the highway, and I was like, "You know what?" I was like, "Pull off on this next exit." I was like, "Let's actually grab some tacos." So we pulled over on the next exit. Taco Bell was closed.
Oh,
Well,
no.
no, we pulled up. They weren't closed. We pulled up, and they said we can't accept any drive up orders at the moment because I guess their machine for that was down. All they could do was Uber Eats and what's that other one?
DoorDash.
DoorDash. They can only accept those orders at the moment. And I was like, well, I'll pay you the money, and when your system comes back up, just put it in the thing. And she's like, yeah, we can't do that. I was like, sucks. So we went next door and got White Castle, and I got 4 double cheeseburgers, um, a pack of 10, I think it was like 10 chicken rings, and um, what else did I get? And some mozzarella sticks, and ate that on the way home. And boy, was I gassy.
I, I imagine.
But man, was it fire to eat it. But yeah, I went to the Machine Gun Kelly concert, which was a really good night. Went to that for my anniversary on my anniversary day. Like it couldn't have been any better than that. And then Doug, I need to congratulate you because we did take a 3 week break since our last recording. Which I mean, you wouldn't know that listening to this podcast, but I survived the roast of wrestling Chris G.
I mean, everybody I thought did a good job. I wasn't at no point during the evening did I think, "Oh, we're gonna have to shut everything down." Um,
It was fun.
some I think somebody said they were surprised that we were even here because um, these brothers at one point, I think, a couple months out, was like, "Yeah, we're gonna be sitting at home. We're gonna get a text in the group. It's just gonna be you saying that it was off." He's like, "That's gonna come about 3 days beforehand," and I was kind of low key keeping an eye on things because
Oh, they put you guys in a different group chat.
no, 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 just the one that you had set up. He's like,
Oh.
that's where he would put it. And I was kind of keeping because I thought you might pull something just to pull it, and then you say it's off, and then like a day later, you're like, nah, not really.
Yeah, no. I went through with it. Everybody apparently was shocked that I was going through with it. It was I say it's kind of a once in a lifetime type ordeal because it who does a roast for their birthday? And like I felt like I was like, okay, well, I feel like there's a lot of jokes said about me outside of the podcast, which it was. Holy shit! Did people have some jokes about about our older podcast, Doug? and and yeah, they joked a lot. Everybody was able to say whatever the hell they wanted to say. Nobody really stuck to their 5 minute timer on the TV that was flashing at them. They said, "F you, Chris. I'm gonna go until I'm done," and they all did it. I mean, I think the only one that went with the timer was Cino.
Yeah, I think he's not gonna hear this, but and I'm not really like taking a shot because I think he would admit it if he was here. I think he was kind of in that time where we're best friends because I think he was kind of using that as like his parachute. He's like, once I hit that timer, I'm done. I think he would have stayed on if he was in the middle of something, but
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't know if he practiced. I don't know if he like laid his stuff out. I feel like he was really
He didn't. Okay, and I don't know if this is gonna make the final cut. I'll just make a note, depending on where this part of the conversation goes. But he alluded to a lot of sexual things without thinking that he was talking sexual at all during his set. Like I don't know how it felt like from your side. Like what did you think when he was saying half of the stuff that he was saying on his part of the roast? And I was like, I don't know where he's going with this, guys.
he very much doesn't have a filter. I mean, I know, leading up to it, it was going to be okay. Well, we're going to be at your place. There's going to be booze. He's going to be fine. And I mean, to everybody's credit, nobody was um thanked. Um,
Maybe Alex. Maybe a little
he might have been. I think by the time I called him up, he might have been down a six pack. Um,
bit.
not more. Because
Yeah.
you saw he couldn't answer me.
No, he couldn't. You asked him and he's like maybe two, maybe nine. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, Sino very much doesn't have a filter, and I mean, you had kind of laid it out that everything was on the table, and I think if anything had gotten too bad, I think either you would have shut it down, or your wife definitely would have. See, now you got me doing it. God damn it! I don't know if we say her name on this show, which I don't. It's not like some secret code or anything. Um, but yeah, she definitely would have shut it down if it got too bad. So I wasn't really,
Yeah.
he's gonna do what he's gonna do. Everybody pretty much did what they were gonna do. So
He tried talking about the bachelor party. Everybody shut it down. Like, bro, do not talk about the bachelor party. Do not talk about the bachelor party. There are wives here. Everybody was like, "Oh, I don't know who was there. Who was at that bachelor party? I wasn't at that bachelor party."
I got it. I almost fell out at her dad. He's like, I wasn't invited. Fuck, you weren't.
I know. You were pouring the alcohol. I specifically remember one time where the bottle came over to my mouth and it was just waterfall. Drink this.
Okay, yeah.
But all right. So that being said, everybody, we are back. We're getting back into the swing of things. Yes, we finished the roast, so you got to hear a little bit of how things went. We're not going to go too much into it. Maybe one day I'll put the audio out there for people. Maybe a very edited version of the audio. But yeah, today's episode is episode 90 of the Pokemon series. It's called In the Pink, or translated from Japanese, The Island of Pink Pokemon, which premiered March 18th, 1999, and here in the States, February 12th, 2000. So, yeah, we're still in that crux of just very shy of a year difference between these episodes dropping. Doug?
I think I wasn't really sure how the translation from specific Kanto to, I mean, now we're into the Orange Islands. Wasn't wasn't sure how the translation was going to go, but I feel like it's gone pretty smoothly so far. And I mean, you still got Ash and Misty, and Tracy's not quite as
He
verted as Brock, but he did have his moments in this episode.
Yeah, he did. So, all right. But other than that, bro, we got our talk out of the way. Are you ready to jump on into this great episode? Well, the semi great filler episode?
I mean, obviously this is end of the episode talk, but I didn't mind it. Similar, well, we'll get into it.
I didn't mind it either. And when I was saying that, I mean I didn't hate this episode. There's definitely been worse Kanto filler episodes, definitely. Um,
100%.
yeah, maybe even one being a banned episode, which good thing that it was banned. But but other than that, so you ready to jump on in, bro?
Definitely.
All right, let's go ahead and hit this. All right. Oh, I forget they do the theme song thing twice at the like coming back
Yeah,
in.
that got me too. I was like, damn it.
All right. So our heroes, we start this episode like we're gonna start 90% of all of these episodes in the water on Lapras. Our three heroes are on here. Tracy's playing with Togepi. Ash is polishing the GS ball. Misty seems like she's just enjoying the water. Togepi seems like Like, what are you doing, Tracy? Okay, I'll give you a laugh, but will you shut up? And Pikachu is just right on top of Lapras's head, just chilling. And Togepi and Tracy's like, man, this is kind of weird. And Misty's like, what is it? He's like, please don't tell me you think something is wrong with Togepi. And he's like, no, nothing wrong exactly. But you think Togepi would have learned at least one attack by this time. And Misty gets all gleamy eyed and she's like, yeah, I know what you mean. Doug, you want to go from here?
And then we have Misty. She kind of has a bit of a flashback. Well, not a. It's not really a flashback. I mean, yeah, it's happening in the past, but as far as we know, it happened like 2 days ago. She's like, "Well, I've been trying," and we get a little like they're like out in a field, and Misty is demonstrating to Togepi what a headbutt is, and she's like, "You move your head forward like this," and Togepi just runs up and hugs it, and it's and oh, it's not like that. It's more like this, and she goes like full bore into it, and she knocks herself loopy. And and before the flashback fades out, Togepi's like patting her little bump that she's got developing,
Just so cute.
and Togepi's just living her best life. And then we get moment 14,902 of Ash being a dick, and he's polishing the GS ball, minding in his own business, and he goes, "Well, maybe if Togepi had a better trainer." And she goes, "Oh, you talking?" And she pulls his cheek, and he's like, "Oh, I was just talking to the Pokeball."
That was funny.
And I want to take it back to the very beginning of the episode for a second because something really bothered me.
Okay.
Um, the narrator was going in. They're like, "Oh, our heroes are riding on their friend Lapras." Like bullshit. That's Ash's Pokemon. Like, yeah, he thinks of his Pokemon as friends, but like that's a caught Lapras. It's not a
It is.
not a
But
taxi service.
remember, I mean, of course, in Ash language, he's just keeping Lapras until Lapras can find its family again, and then he's gonna give it back like a dumbass.
Well, that's true. It's his MO.
For real. I mean, he can easily his Lapras can visit the other Lapras anytime because his Lapras is legit a baby Lapras. What better way to raise a Lapras but then to raise a baby Lapras? And I don't know. I mean, it's just it bothers me. Like he should have that Lapras. Like he never sees this Lapras again ever.
Right.
Not. They didn't even tie any loose ends together on journeys yet with this damn Lapras. Just throwing that out there.
Well, what is Pokemon if not loose end central?
For real. But then the next scene that we end up going into is after Misty kind of gears one in on Ash, we hit a whirlpool, and the whirlpool starts shaking the water, and they have really, really bad turbulence. Pikachu's holding on to the top, and Lapras goes in and starts using what looks like surf on the whirlpool, so everybody won't fall off. We go ahead and we get the title sequence in the pink, and then from here we're completely jumped to where Ash and everybody have landed on an island, and all you hear is the water in the background. And Ash wakes up. He's like, Pikachu, Misty? And everyone's like, we're okay. Are you okay, Ash? And they're just looking at him like Ash took the worst bump of them all. And Lapras is just chilling over in the water. And Ash is like, where are we? And Tracy has his binoculars. He's like, man, could it be? And he's just looking around. He's looking. He's looking. He's like, we're on Pekin Island. And they're like, where? And he's like, Pekin Island. It's a mysterious place surrounded by humongous whirlpools. And those cliffs are hardly anybody has ever been able to explore this island. So nobody knows what type of Pokemon live here. Doug, you want to go from here?
yeah, he's completely gung ho because he's like, I might be the first Pokemon watcher to discover certain types of Pokemon, and we'll say those whirlpools gave me. I'm not gonna say like the shivers or anything. Kind of like warm and fuzzies playing the games because I remember whirlpools being a big part of playing at least the early games.
Yeah.
Um, so that was kind of cool. So he's gung ho and he starts climbing up a cliff and see these Pokemon. And Ash is like, if there's Pokemon um, to be looked at, I'm gonna be right behind you. So everybody starts climbing up a cliff and right into it. I mean, we're 3 minutes into the episode,
For,
and
for real.
Tracy gets to the top of the cliff first, and he's like, ah, and
They come across a pink Rhyhorn, and
right
Ash is looking. He's like, man, that's not even possible. He's like, but I didn't think Rhyhorn were supposed to be pink. Misty goes, and Ash, of course, takes out Dexter, and pulls up a picture of Rhyhorn, and Rhyhorn's gray. But then
now
the camera
I
pans
have an
over.
issue with this right off the bat.
Okay, what's up?
Familiar with um different pigments of Pokemon because they were at the island of Professor Ivy. Her mixture of food is giving the Pokemon on her sanctuary different coats and stuff.
Yes.
They shouldn't be like, oh my god, a pink Rhyhorn. They should look at the tree and say, oh, he's eating the pink berries. I'll bet you that's what's doing it. But they're like, oh my god, this is the best thing in the world.
And it's at this point Tracy being stupid. Like, I don't know why you would charge at a Rhyhorn to begin with, but he's like,
It's
man,
around Ash.
I know. But and he goes and runs over because he wants to get a closer look at this Rhyhorn. And Ash is like, Tracy, I wouldn't do that. And Tracy just crawls over, and Tracy's like, man, don't worry, Ash, I'll be careful. And he licks his finger, and he puts his finger on the air. He's like, downhill is the way. And so he's checking the wind, and he's crawling, and he's getting closer and closer to Rhyhorn, and Rhyhorn's just eating these pink berries like crazy. And Tracy's like, just stand still, Rhyhorn. And he takes out his sketch pad. He's like, I'm gonna sketch a masterpiece. So he starts sketching this Rhyhorn. And as he is sketching this Rhyhorn, he's looking and his machine's beeping. He's like, man, this thing looks to be about 8 meters long, 1 meter high. He's like, oh man, this is a big Rhyhorn. And then he goes and he gets closer and he's like, man, that horn is about 20 centimeters long. He's like, and Ash is in the back with Misty, and they're like, man, I don't think he should be getting that close to Rhyhorn. I don't think this is a good idea at all. Misty's
Should
like,
have a lot of room to talk about not getting close to Pokemon. He
for,
should,
for real, right?
and
It,
Misty's like, well, he's a Pokemon watcher. That's what they do. He probably knows more about Pokemon than we do. And Pikachu's in agreement. He's like, well, he went to school to be a watcher, or whatever the fuck. And has to get all fucking 10-year-old. He's like, well, I know more than you think, and I'll go prove it. And the fucking idiot, he just goes charging because it's his show or something. And he goes, he goes up to the Rhyhorn. He's like, how you doing, buddy? And the Rhyhorn immediately gets down and starts to snarl. And Ash is like, oh, ho, ho, no need for any of that now. It's just me. It's my show. You can't really hurt me. And he walks right up and he pats Rhyhorn on the horn, and he looks over at Misty. He's like, "See, I know what I'm doing," and you can just see Rhyhorn's like, "I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna." And Tracy has to stand up. He's like, "It's gonna charge," and what do you know? He just goes fwa, and Ash goes flying, and he just lands on his head next to Tracy, and Tracy has to a limp Ash up, and Misty's like, "It's gonna use takedown," and Togepi pops out and is like, "What's going on over here?" And running, and of course they run towards Misty. So Misty and Pikachu are in the line of fire as well, and they run to this cliff, and they're fucked. And if it wasn't only 6 minutes into the episode, I might be a little worried. And everybody's screaming, and Togepi's just kind of looking Rhyhorn dead in the eye and starts doing a metronome motion, and Rhyhorn goes charging off the cliff and lands on a tree about halfway down, and everybody else is teleported to safety. And they're like, "What's going on?"
Officer Jenny is basically telling Ash that this is a protected area and that she protects all of the pink Pokemon that are here on this island, but she doesn't want a bunch of tourists coming over to this island and capturing these these Pokemon because these Pokemon live here. These Pokemon live here. They grow and they. What was it that she said that they're a little smaller in size than the normal Pokemon due to what they eat there? Doug?
Yeah, yeah, the
Yeah.
diet, yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. And officer and so they see the Rhyhorn that is stuck in the tree that was chasing Tracy and flew off of the hill. And Officer Jenny and Misty tied Ash and so that they can go down this hill, grab the Rhyhorn, and she's going to back her truck up to pick up Rhyhorn. And they brought Rhyhorn back up to the top of the cliff. And then from here, we run into Team Rocket. You want to go, bro?
Officer Jenny kind of frustrated me here because um, she's like, "What are you doing on this land? It's protected." And he's like, "Well, we didn't mean to come here. It was an accident. We were being chased by this Rhyhorn, and we were transported." And that's when Jenny looks down and she's like, "How did it get there?" Like Ash threw him. How did it get there? Um, but yeah, this is our first encounter of the episode with um, Team Rocket. We also get a nice little cameo from Jigglypuff because Jigglypuff is getting a free ride on top of the periscope,
Yes.
and of course Jessie is in the driver's seat of the submarine, and she's like, "I see a pink Rhyhorn," and um,
What
James
would
is
have
more worried
stopped
about
Team
what
Rocket from?
Shay.
Yeah, what would have stopped Team Rocket from telling Giovanni about these pink Pokemon after they left this island?
Because I'm sure he has resources.
I mean, I know that, but
And
but wouldn't Giovanni want some of these pink Pokemon because they're so valuable?
I'm sure if he wanted to, Giovanni could basically snatch up the entire island.
He could tie up like 6 or 7 helicopters of his big helicopters and just lift it. But
Call in the field group or whatever. So Team Rocket goes full steam ahead towards the island, and of course they get caught up in a whirlpool as well. That poor Magikarp doesn't stand a chance.
No, not at all, because it's not an actual Pokemon. So they just need to hold on for dear life at this point as it circles around and around. And Jigglypuff is like, "Fuck, fuck, fuck, ah!" And Team Rocket is just going around and around. Meowth has the swirls on his eyes. I mean, normally that means that a Pokemon has fainted, and he probably did faint from being twirled around so much. But um, but he's probably it seems like he's just dizzy. But But we're back with Ash and Tracy, and they're bringing up Rhyhorn at this moment, and Rhyhorn seems to be grateful that they're helping it. They get the Rhyhorn, they bring it up, they untie it, and Rhyhorn is just happy to have Officer Jetty there, and Rhyhorn thanks everybody, growls, and then just walks away. Just all right, goodbye. And Ash is like, I don't understand it, Officer Jenny. How come Rhyhorn didn't attack you like it attacked us? And she's like, with new people, the Rhyhorn gets nervous. And sometimes they attack, but that one knows me. She said, usually Rhyhorns are very shy, and Ash comes up with his 10-year-old line. Then maybe it should be called a shy horn. Just stupid. And Missy's like,
Good.
bad joke.
Should have been the end of the episode. Everybody pack up, go home. We'll see you next week.
But then something crazy starts to happen. So Pikachu started grabbing some of the berries that were on this island and started eating it while our heroes were saving the Rhyhorn. And Pikachu's cheeks started turning bright pink, and so did the first half of her tail. Like, so this kind of makes me think is if these Rhyhorn would like stop eating the berries that they're eating like for just a day, do they turn back into gray Rhyhorn?
I'm gonna say no, only because these Rhyhorn have probably grown up on the island, so they've probably had a steady diet of the pink berries, so it's probably ingrained in their system. Whereas
Gotcha.
Pikachu is just a visitor, so it's probably going to be back. Well, I mean, we know it's going to be back to normal next episode, but
Yes.
it's not going to have enough like long-lasting effects. But I am surprised at how fast acting these berries are.
I was
Pikachu has
too.
had a half of a berry, and he's all the parts of him that can be colored have almost been colored.
So, um, but then Ash runs over. He acknowledges that Pikachu's turning pink, and Officer Jenny says that yeah, well, that's what makes all the Pokemon here on this island turn pink. Just look around you, Ash. This is the only place in the world where pecan trees grow, and which I think is kind of crazy. I mean, I'm sure you can kind of maybe take a tree and maybe grow them elsewhere, but nobody has ever tried. And they're like, yeah, that's why all the Pokemon here turn pink. And Tracy's like, yeah, I guess there must be some kind of natural chemicals inside of all of these berries that makes Pokemon turn pink. And Ash freaks out. He's like, will my Pikachu stay this pink forever? And she's like, don't worry, they only pink if they eat the berries all the time, which was, I guess, there you go. There's the line right there about the Pokemon on the island. So I guess the Rhyhorn will stay pink because it's been in their diet for who knows how long. And would that mean the Rhyhorn that are born in eggs, do they turn out pink too? Since it was from the diet of the Rhyhorn that was holding it? These are
You
questions.
know, maybe not as bright as the Rhyhorn that we saw, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was born with a very light pink hue at birth and born at birth. Good, that's how you're usually born. Um, you come out of the egg with a pink hue, and then obviously a steady diet of the berries probably gets it up to where everybody else is at.
So we go and we get a Kabutop, not a Kabutops, a Kabuto, as your who's that Pokemon this week. And then
Appreciated because that's next week's episode.
yeah, for once there, it seems like we may be getting on track, but I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch. So we'll see what happens on the next one. But we're back with Team
Right.
Rocket, who have crashed on the island where Ash, Tracy, and Misty have crashed. Doug, take it away, my brother.
Oh, um, Meowth's like, "Oh, it looks like we were thrown up on this island," and James is like, "Please don't mention throw up." Um, and they're looking around for the pardon me, they're looking around for the rare pink Pokemon, and um, they're like, "Look, a pink Jigglypuff," because Jigglypuff survived the turbulent ride, and they're like, "Look, a pink Jigglypuff," and Um, and even Jesse gets caught up in the hype, and then they're like, "Oh wait, Jigglypuffs are usually always pink." And
Jigglypuff got so offended when they ran away.
we get the stereotypical puff up Jigglypuff, and then we fade to a scene of Team Rocket running, and we get glimpses of looks like a pink Mankey and
Executor, Gloom, Bellsprout, Vileplume,
oh, that's a
Rhyhorn.
there's a Primeape even. I
Yep.
mean,
Caterpie, Venonat. What else? What else?
a Paris Diglett. Pink Diglett's cute. Um,
You got Nidorans. Well, one Nidoran is always pink, but it looks like they're showing us that both the boys and the girl Nidoran are pink from eating the berries that are on this island. Who transported all
the
these
heck are we
Pokemon?
supposed to tell them apart?
Exactly. Like, who transported all these Pokemon onto this island? Because this is just a secluded island. So someone brought
Right.
these on here to habitat or to um what's the word, Doug?
Oh, you're on the right track. For goodness sakes, I've lost it.
um
I'll think of it in 5 minutes.
Gotcha. No problem. But yeah, we're
Populate,
what's up?
populate the island.
Yes, populate. There you go. I couldn't think of the word. But Jesse and James are kind of oohing and awing all over these pink Pokemon, which I mean, it is nice to see these Pokemon.
To be fair, they weren't on the same island with Ash, Tracy, and Misty when they saw Professor Ivy with her diet of specific food that changed the Pokemon. So this is like their first exposure to um, pigment altered Pokemon.
Yep. So, all right, and I'm sorry, I kind of jumped in on you there. So go ahead and take it away, my brother.
Oh yeah, Team Rocket's having a fantasy of a pink Pokemon amusement park, and there's rides, and all the Pokemon are putting on shows and dancing and singing, and uh, of course their Pokemon get in on the act, and they're like the stars, and then of course it wouldn't be a fantasy if we didn't get James in a dress and Jesse dressed up like a man, and kind of very much knocking off Disneyland because they have a line of "Come once a year, spend all your money here." Um, and Pinky never sinky, stinky rather. Pinky Land, I mean, got to give it up for Team Rocket for always being down for a musical number.
Yeah, and Jesse and James. Okay, give me one second. I'm still fast forwarding through. And Jesse and James start going. They're like, all right, let's go and capture all these Pokemon. Um, James sends out Victory Bell, who gobbles him up right away. And they're like, oh, geez, not this again. And Meowth is like, we have a problem here. And so Jesse goes, all right, well, you can go ahead and I got the perfect Pokemon to go out and lick. So go out there and lick them all, lick a tongue. And James just pops up. He's like, "Ooh, a pink lickitung." And Jessica goes,
I
"Look,
laughed too hard at that.
James Lickitung has always been pink." And freaking Meowth is like, Another smack like that, and you'll be turning pink. Just died. But Lickitung starts going in and starts chasing the Pokemon that are on the island. Lickitun's like, well, Lickitun's getting pushed by Team Rocket, not really running, but he's getting pushed, and the Nidoran are running, and they run into this tree. Well, they said it's a cave. It looked like a tree, and the Lickitung goes and starts running and runs into this cave, and then from here, you just hear a bunch of ah, and Lickitung runs out of the cave, and they're like, "What's going on? I wonder what Lickitung is whimpering about." And then they hear footsteps, and Meowth is like, "What's that?" And out comes a Nidoking, and it's a huge Nidoking that comes out, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's a pink Nidoking!" And Nidoking is just chasing them. And I do have to say, they made this Nidoking look big at first, but as it's chasing Jesse and James, it's smaller than Jesse and James. That
Yeah, but it's still a pissed off Nidoking.
yeah, that's true. True that. So, all right, bro, and then we're back at the police headquarters with Officer Jenny.
She's basically explaining to us what we already knew, that Pekin Island has been designated a official Pokemon refuge, and visitors are strictly prohibited, and quite frankly, y'all shouldn't be here. And then she has an immediate change of heart because she's like, "Well, I wouldn't have been able to save that Rhyhorn without you, so I'm not going to press any charges." Um, she says, "At least this time," and everybody's like, "Oh, gee, thanks." And Misty's like, "Hey, we haven't heard from Professor Oak in a while. Maybe you should call him." And which is ridiculous because it's not like Ash has a cell phone that he can just, as they're being chased by the Rhyhorns, "Oh, how's everything, Professor Oak? How's my muck?" Um, so we whip um, we whip into a phone call, and one of the first things Professor Oak says is, "Oh, Pekin Island, huh? Have you been arrested yet?"
but Ash basically sits there and he's like, "Yeah," he's like, "We promise that we won't say anything." Professor Oak is basically saying, "Well, you better not. It's a protected island." We get a close up of Muck in the background. Professor Oak kind of educates our trio about certain I mean, not professors, certain doctors that go over to the island to watch the Pokemon and make sure that they're all safe and all of that. And but yeah, like I said, we end the call with Muck going over on Professor Oak, which alarms start going off at this point, and Officer Jenny starts running out. She's like, "Someone's landed on the island again, and I think they're poachers." And they're like, "Huh? Please, can we help you stop them? We can't let anybody hurt all of those Pokemon." And Officer Jenny's like, "Yeah, I could use some help. So let's go." So they all leave. We go back to the Nidoking chasing Team Rocket, and it's ganging up on them. And James sends Wheezing back and says, "Smoke screen." And smoke screen goes out, and Arbok comes out of its Pokeball and starts squeezing the mess out of Nidoking. And and Lickitung finally gets its wherewithals and is like, "Yeah, I can get in on this action now too." And while Nidoking is getting squeezed by Arbok, goes over and just starts bitch slapping the mess out of Nidoking, just whack 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 with his freaking tongue. How mad would you be if someone came over with their Pokemon and just started bitch slapping the mess out of you with their tongue, Doug? How would you feel if you
Be
were
like,
this Nidoking?
"Oh, just let me get loose. I'm gonna take that tongue out your mouth and stretch it all the way around you."
And we do get that Nidoking has been paralyzed from the licks of Lickitung, and Team Rocket's like, "Oh my gosh, we did it!" And of course, here come our heroes with Officer Jenny, and they're like, "Who do you think you are, you poachers? Stop!" And Jesse and Jay is like, "Did she say trouble?" Yeah. Oh, she said, "Yeah, you're gonna be in trouble," but I was paraphrasing. And
Yeah.
that's when Jesse and James, for somehow they got a Gengar and a Tauros pink outfit, which I don't understand how they did that because they didn't even know that they were even coming up to a pink Pokemon Island, but it's a kids show. And
Literally my first thought. I was like, how do they have time and room, and where did they get these costumes? And yeah, kids show.
so they start running down the model at this point, and after they're done with the model, let's see, I'm gonna Pikachu comes over and just starts shocking the mess out of all of them, and they're like, "Oh well, I guess we're just gonna have to capture your Pikachu too then." And then Needle King wakes up from from being paralyzed, picks up Wheezing, Arbok, and Lickitung, and Jesse and James are like, "Man, that shock was Needle King's wake up call, wasn't it?" And then from here, Meowth. Oh, Meowth is on there too. And James goes, "Wheezing, smokescreen now!" But Wheezing is knocked
Whack.
out, and it just gets thrown back in James' face. Jesse is like, "Arbok, poison sting!" And then whack, gets Needle King throws Arbok and Lickitung back in her face, and Needle King is like, "Ah!" and just whips it with its tail, and Team Rocket goes blasting off again. Doug.
And obviously Needle King doesn't understand that Officer Jenny and company are there to help. But turns around and is like, ah, and she's like, it looks mad, and Officer Jenny's like, well, I'm not gonna hang around to find out, and she does a crazy whip around, and Needle King is in hot pursuit, and um, she attempts to call out Staryu, and it gets obviously Psyduck comes out, and
and
obviously Psyduck's about to get run over, so it starts running alongside the truck, going, "Get me the back in there!"
and
and
Tracy sends out Meryl, who just gets scared right away. Poor Meryl.
and just jumps right back into Tracy's arms, and Ash sends out Pikachu to do Thunder Shock, but it's ineffective because Nido King's in a rampage, and Officer Jen like, y'all are stupid. But then it's like, oh, but then she comes up on a dead end, and
Doesn't she know this island? Didn't she know
yeah,
the dead end was right here? Dummy.
yeah, I kind of had that same thought. I was like, well, weren't you the one that said, oh, this Rhyhorn is my friend, you know? So she's obviously been on the island long enough to make a rapport with the Pokemon.
Not this
She
Needle King.
obviously in the center that's on the island. Yeah, that was a big kind of a plot hole, and we see that Needle King is loading up Hyper Beam, and like, oh shit, we're fucked. And with its arms again, and I think this time Misty kind of catches a glimpse, and a force field pops up,
And saves them from the hyper beam, and they all just jump out the car and just start running.
and the look on Needle King's face is, the fuck just happened?
And out of everything, what the hell was Officer Jenny thinking? She takes her rope. Well, I mean, obviously we know what she was thinking, but this Neil King, this could have ended badly for her. She takes a rope and lassos Needle King. And when she lassos Needle King grabs a piece of the rope and pulls Officer Jenny in. And Officer Jenny must not have known that this was going to happen, but then whips her car around to start wrapping the rope around Needle King to start tying him up. And Needle King's like, what the fuck? What the fuck? I just woke up. My kids were getting chased. Oh, and he gets dizzy from all the whip arounds and he just falls over. Doug,
for trying to be a good father.
for real.
So Nido King is out, and she's like, "Oh, we're safe," and Nido King didn't get hurt, and Officer Jenny's kind of like this badass hero moment, like something out of Jurassic Park, and now we're at sunset, and Officer Jenny is driving our heroes, I would assume, out of the range of the island,
Yes.
and she's like, I'll get you out beyond the whirlpools where you'll be safe." And um, Ash is standing there. He says thanks, and Tracy's kind of got a gaga look on his face. We'll get to that in a second. And Misty and Pikachu are in the back with Togepi. Misty's trying to get Togepi to move her arms like she saw in the Jeep, and
Fucking Ash and
Togepi.
Tracy are assholes for this.
And obviously Togepi, um, she's in her own world. She's just having a blast. And Misty tries to explain. She's like, it might sound weird, but I think
I think Togepi helped us.
Tracy and Ash are basically like, oh, it's a little Pokemon. What do you? I mean, it's cute, but Misty brings up in the Jeep when the Hyper Beam missed him. Saw Togepi move its arms, and Ash, Ash of all people, said, "Oh, it's nice to dream, but I don't think so." Like, what are we all doing here if you didn't have a dream about being a Pokemon? Like, fuck right off with that shit.
For real. And then freaking Tracy gets caught up because Ash is like, "What are you drawing there?" It was a picture of Officer Jenny, um, lassoing Needle King, and he's like, "Well, I can't watch Pokemon all the time."
Love that line. He's like, I get lonely.
But from there, that was
And
the end of the episode, really.
because we get one final scene of Misty trying to get Togepi to kind of mimic the movement, and Togepi just thinks it's a dance party, so it starts to just move its whole body. Toga, and I mean, cute as all shit. But
Yes.
um, and the narrator then immediately has to underline it with, "Well, Togepi saved the day," but what lies ahead for our heroes remains a mystery.
So,
So, like, as a viewer, we're allowed to know that it was Togepi, obviously, because we saw it, but we don't get to go along the discovery journey with Misty and Ash and Tracy. Which I suppose is fine, but that would be kind of cool to discover at the same time. But they got to pad these episodes out.
so, so, what would you give this episode, Doug?
This was a this was solid.
I give it a 3.
I was gonna say 3. I try to give whole numbers if I can, and I would say this qualifies as a 3.
So, other than that, I don't have a Pokemon pack for anyone today. Notice I didn't say that at the beginning of the episode. I'm gonna save my packs for future episodes, for bigger episodes. I still have a collection back there, but yeah, I'm taking a break from your Pokemon cards this week, but you'll have another one next week. So, all right, but go ahead and say goodbye, Doug.
Hi, Doug.
And this is Wrestling Chris G telling all of you sayonara, and I will see you next week for another. Well, I guess I can call it Orange Islands episode instead of just Kanto. So another Orange Islands episode. So have a good night, everybody, and be safe.